So I'm starting the recording. So we started. And we have no volunteer for 1601, so I'm going to do my thing of calling on Jen if she wants to. You can always cry off, right?
No, it's totally fine.
Okay.
All right.
And we're in the mid. We're at 16.1. We're in the middle of this confrontation with King here, who I just discovered. I'm starting to read popular literature about Patrick, so I've discovered that that he's often just referred to as Leary. So I feel much more. It's kind of exciting making this jump from names that seem so weird to names that seem familiar. So this is apparently Leary.
Mm-hmm.
So take it away, Jen.
All right. His ergo auditis. Therefore, with these things having been heard, turbatus est rex loguire valde. King Leary was really disturbed, really upset. Ut olim Herodes, as once King Herod had been. Et omnis civitas Timoria cum eo, and the entire state of Tara, city of Tara, with him.
Mm-hmm.
Et respondens dixit, and responding, he said, non sic erit, well, that's not how it's going to be. Sed nunc nos ibimus, ut videamus exitum rei. But now we shall go to see the outcome of the thing. Et retinebimus et occidemus facientes tantum nefas in nostrum regnum. And will hold prisoner and kill those doing such a terrible thing, such a sacrilegious thing against our kingdom.
Yes, I need to make a note. I find that very awkward. The occidemus facientes. You'd think we would kill doing it, but of course it's accusative, as you say.
Yeah.
You know, it's eos qui faciunt or something.
Yeah, there's a couple of those in the passages for today that I will note for myself.
Right.
Iunctis ergo ternovem curibus, secundum deorum traditionem. Therefore, with 3 times 9, 27 chariots having been yoked, according to the tradition of the gods, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
Et assumptis his duobus magis ad conflictionem prae omnibus optimis, and with 2 wizards having been put into those chariots. The wizards that were the best at conflict, at fighting beyond everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It est Lucetmail et Lochru, that is Lucetmail and Lochru. In fine noctis Ilius, at the end of that night, perexit loiguire de Timoria ad ferti virorum fec. Leary went all the way, reached from Tara to the burial ground of the men of Fiac, hominum et aquorum facies, secundum congruum illis sensum ad levam vertentes. Turning the faces of the people and the horses to the left, according to the sense that was fitting for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Any questions about Latin? The Latin seems very, especially now that you've done it, seems very clear. So, Larry, does anyone know a good source for the kind of the Celtic stuff that's lurking here? Presumably this is some kind of evidence for Celtic customs, that they were somehow interested in 27 chariots, that they somehow kept their faces to the left for some ritual reason when they went. But I can't find anybody who explains this stuff.
They're probably wagons, not chariots.
Oh.
I mean, every time I hear about the Celts going to war and such, they talk about the women waiting in the wagons.
Mm-hmm. But they did have chariots.
Yeah, but not the same kind that we're thinking of.
Not like Ben-Hur.
No.
But aren't we? Well, partly because I was thinking of chariots because there's this parallel with Pharaoh and his chariots being thrown into the sea.
Probably.
And Kuros,
From Mercury's sense, yeah.
Kuros should mean chariot, shouldn't it? At least for, I mean,
It can mean wagon.
Kuros.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was looking up. I found one of the meanings they were giving was wagon.
Okay, maybe they're wagons. It seems cooler that they would be chariots, but
I mean, Mercury's probably, as you're saying, he's probably doing the comparison to Pharaoh, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing the same
no,
thing.
that's true. You're right. Right. So maybe they're wagons. But do we know anything about this 27 chariots and this senior or anything?
That one I can answer.
Yeah.
Right. It's 9. 3 is a magic number, right? So 9, 3 threes. Then you get 3 groups of 9 together, right? So you got this full magical number with you. That's a gateway to the divine power.
In Celtic
Three.
mythology?
3 in Indo-European mythology, but especially Celtic,
Yeah.
is a divine number. That's why you have the Trinity.
Yeah.
It's a holy number. It's a sign of God, of the divinity, of highest God.
Right.
So 3 times 3 it's like the holy of holies, or forever and ever, Saeculae Saeculorum. It's the same kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
And as far as turning always to the left, they would be going counterclockwise. So I think that's Widdershins.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Widdershins?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're going around in concentric circles. Aren't concentric circles important? Aren't circles upon circles? Outside. Aren't those important in ancient Britain religion?
Yes, they are. And on top of it, you also have here the military sense is that as you're going around the circle, right, if the object that you're trying to keep an eye on is always on your left, right? So you've always got at least somebody's eyes are constantly on that person or object that you're surrounding. So you got the mythological sense of the circles within circles, the practical sense of everybody's always got their eye on the bad guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
William, did you see the Q&A question? Was that?
That's Matthew.
Get it? Okay.
Matthew's just joined us. Hi, Matthew. Oh, wait a minute. Unmute Matthew. Okay. Everybody's unmuted. Anybody, Victoria, should I unmute you? You unmuted. Oh, well, you can mute yourselves, of course. So if anyone's dogs start barking, just go.
I've got kittens crying, but
They're fine. We like that. So I just need to know more about the whole Celtic world and use that as background. But I still haven't found a good. Is there a good introduction to the world of the Celts that the Christians then found waiting for them, so to speak?
When I was looking up information, what I inferred was that most of what had been written about the Celts was written by people who had an interest in making the Celts look barbaric, including Kaiser, including the chronicler who wrote about the royal investiture ceremony of the Celts, which was pretty barbaric even by contemporary standards now. And I don't get the impression that there's very much out there reliably written, since all the history was written by the victors. And I think it's difficult to find any, at least I've had difficulty finding any genuinely trustworthy information. And most of what I did read had a sort of a caveat about the reliability of it.
Yeah.
there's a really good series, and it's an academic series. It's very good. I've only actually read the Ancient Greece and Rome one, but it is related, and they have one on it's Athlone History of Witchcraft and Magic in Europe.
No.
There's something like 6 volumes, and it goes from like prehistoric and biblical and witch crazes, ancient Greece and Rome. And I believe it has a Celtic one as well that you might find useful. He's right that there a lot of the information, the written information that we have comes from the Romans, basically,
Right.
and some from the Greeks. But there's a fair bit of archaeological information. Of course, the problem is that it's difficult to interpret because most of what we have is anti-Celtic propaganda.
Right. But I would just like to note, so the best I've got is this thing here, which is T.M. Charles Edwards' Early Christian Ireland, but he doesn't talk much about the Celts. And I'd like to know what the best resource for, I mean, modern scholars certainly are surely probably pro-Celt, right? You know, or at least trying to be objective about the Celts, and someone distill all the archaeology and what we know from the Celtic sources, what we know from the Greek and Roman sources. I just would like to know where to find out more about 27 is this the only mention of 27 chariots, or etc.?
It's really difficult to find a reliable information.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would definitely try starting with Athlone,
Okay.
and maybe when you're on Amazon, if you Google it, sort of search for it on Amazon, a lot of other stuff comes up.
I bought
That-
more,
that is
I
very
bought
interesting.
more bad books since doing this online course. I have brought there's lots of popular medieval history out there, and I now own a lot of it, and it's mostly bad.
Well, a lot of these are academic as well, though.
Yeah, well, that's
Because I found when I was looking up the Witch Crazes edition of the Athlone series, is that a lot of other things came up that were very academic, and I knew that because I'd been to University of St. Andrews, and it's, you know, you might also say, again, University of St. Andrews or St. Andrews in general, there's a lot of, what is it, Hazar or whatever. There's a specific term to early Christian studies.
Oh.
And in the insular British Isles general area. So we're talking like late Iron Age, early medieval. So right around this time.
right.
And so I would say it's University of St. Andrews, maybe you know, like with Trinity College in Dublin, they might have something as well.
Well, sure. I mean, that's
Yeah.
right. The scholars,
University presses.
the scholars are there. I just don't know who they are.
No, I'm just. But they have university presses that do specific stuff.
Right.
You know, like there's a Cardiff. Was it Cardiff Press or something? Has an Arthur of the Celts, an Arthur of the Britons, the Arthur of the, and that's from this period as well. This talks about all those types. Arthur of the French. I think they were going to do an Arthur of the Scots, but didn't get around to it. Something like that. Ran out of money or something like that before they did it. But that's a very good series, and that's very academic.
Okay. Let's go. So Paula, it's
Okay.
your turn. 16.2.
All right. Let me queue up the stuff here. Virtue. There's completion. Here we go. Okay. What is that booming noise?
I don't know. Who thinks they're noisy? It might be me.
I could certainly be noisy, but I can't usually hear what noisy I'm being, so
Yeah, it might be feedback.
it might be. Yeah. Oh, it stopped. So whatever it was.
I think it was Brian.
Okay. All right. Let's see. 16.2. Eontibus autem ilis, but with those advancing, dixerunt magi regi, the mages said to the king.
The Magi said to the king, right?
Yeah.
Plural.
Yeah. The mages. Yeah. Mages. Magi. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah. Said to the king, Rex nec ibis ad locum in quo ignis est. King, neither with those to the place in which is the fire.
Neither. Nec ibis is another way of just giving a negative command. Don't you be going.
Okay, don't go to the places.
Right.
Okay.
Ibis is second person singular of AO, future AO. It goes
Okay.
Ebo, Ibis, Ibit.
Yeah.
So don't,
Okay.
you will not go. Don't you be going to the place in which fire.
Go there. Betty, stay away from the fire. Okay. Ne forte tu postea adoraveris illum qui incendit. Lest perchance afterward you yourself will adore who lit it.
Yep.
Okay. Sed eris foris, but you will be outside, juxta next to it,
Mm-hmm.
et vocabitur ad te ille ut te adoraverit. And it was called to you that in order that it be adored by you,
I think he will be called to you,
he will be called to you.
Ille, so that he can adore you.
So that he can adore you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Et tu ipsa dominatus fueris, and you yourself will be dominated.
Mm-hmm.
Et sermo quina bim.
You know, it doesn't mean that, even though you think it should mean that.
Okay.
And I think Beeler possibly thinks it means that, but I think it means you will.
Well, yeah, that was what the note indicated.
Right. But I don't think it means that. It means you will be a dominating person. You will be a half-dominated person. So it's deponent.
Yeah.
Dominatus.
Okay.
Which makes much more sense.
makes
in the
more
context.
sense.
They're saying
Yeah.
he's going to win. Of course, they're wrong, but that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Et sermo quina bimur ad in vicem nos et illa in conspectu tuo. And we will hold a conversation in turn, we and he, in your presence.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Rex et probabis nos sic, king, and you will put us to the proof thus.
Mm-hmm.
Et respondens rex ait, and responding the king said, bonum consilium invenistis sic faciam ut locuti fuistis. Good counsel you have found, thus will you do this in the way that you have spoken.
Thus will I do this.
Okay, thus will.
Right. Sic
Yeah.
faciem.
Right. Yeah.
I will do
Yeah.
as you have said.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thus I will. Okay. Et pervenierunt ad praefinitum locum, and they arrived at the prescribed place. Discendentibusque, illis de curribus suis et equis. And they arrived at this, and with those descending from their chariots or wagons and horses, non intraverunt in circuitum loci incensi, they did not enter into the circle of the burnt place,
Uh-huh.
sed sederunt juxta, but sat next to it.
Good. Very good. So there's some weird medieval Latin here. At least I take it's medieval Latin.
Mm-hmm.
This locuti fuistis, instead of saying locuti est, I will say as you have said. We don't. Jen, am I right? This isn't something that classical Latin does normally, right?
It's not something that Cicero does, but you do see it in silver authors. You do see the substitution of for sum, and you see the substitution of furum for aram for the pluperfect. So it does occur, but Cicero doesn't do it.
Okay, well then.
And I think it also occurs in ante-Ciceronian Latin.
Okay.
I know it occurs in silver Latin.
Okay. But it doesn't occur in our grammar books, which is where it does.
No, you wouldn't see it in a grammar book, but you definitely run into it.
Right. Yeah, it's certainly easy enough, and it makes perfect sense. And then, of course, you get this other violation of the ablative absolute rule, right? With those, so with them descending from the chariots, they won't enter, which is you're not supposed to do. But that's okay.
Another thing in that passage, William, I think you noted that adoraveris is future perfect, but it's not. It has to be a subjunctive, right? Doesn't it have to be perfect subjunctive, just like adoraweret, which isn't the right tense, but
maybe it's because I didn't like it that it wasn't the right tense.
but it can't be an indicative with nay. I mean, it has to mean in order to.
Yeah.
You don't go to that place so that you won't worship him, and later he'll be called to worship you. They both have to be perfect subjunctive. What else?
Okay.
Like, the future perfect would just be. It wouldn't mean in order to anymore.
Right. It would be weird, but it would be future. But I'm sure you're right.
Yeah, I think she's right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. But it is weird. It violates the sequence of tenses. I mean, you shouldn't have.
Right.
I don't know why it's future. I don't know why it's perfect, but it is. It's a
Right.
perfect subjunctive.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We'll get it right eventually. Brian, you ready for 17.1?
Oh, okay, take it away. Et vocatus est sanctus patricius ad regem, and Saint Patrick was called to the king, extra locum incensi, outside the site of the burning. Magi ad suos, the magi, or said to their own men. Nec sergemus nos in adventu, we will not rise on the arrival of that man, qui cumque surrexit ad adventum istius credit a postia, for whoever rose to the arrival of that man commits to him afterwards, believes in him afterwards, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
He will, whoever rises at the approach of that man, credet, he will believe.
Oh, it's a future. Okay, thank you.
Right. It's one of those. We're way back to that basic sneakiness of the third conjugation futures, which look like they're
Right.
perfect. And credo, of course, takes a dative. He will believe in him afterwards.
Yes. So Surrexit, just to be like super clear, the Surrexit, that's future perfect. This is the equivalent of a future condition. So it's like, if he will have arisen, he will believe. So in English, we don't usually say the will have, we say if he arises, exactly like William said. So whoever arises, he will believe.
Right. Good. Keep going, and let's all celebrate the kitten.
Okay. Et adorabit eum, and will honor him.
Mm-hmm.
Surgens denique sanctus patricius et videns multos curus et equos eorum. Finally, Saint Patrick rising up and seeing the many chariots and horses of them, humque psalmiste versiculum non incongruae in labius et in corde decantans. So I put decantans at the beginning, chanting this verse of the psalmist, not unsuitable on his lips, and in his heart. He in curribus et he in equis, these men these men in chariots and these men in horses, or they are in horses and chariots, nos autem in nomine Dei nostru ambulabimus. We, however, in the name of our God, will be walking. Veni ad illos, he came to these men.
Good.
Illi non surrexerunt in adventu eius. These men did not rise on the arrival of him as they planned. Unus tantum ad dominu adiutus, but one only helped by the Lord. I think that's Domino is like God, right? I mean,
Yes, I think, yes,
rather than a person who's a Lord.
right.
Qui noluit obodire dictus magorum, who refused to obey the words of the Magi.
Good.
Hoces Eric Philips Dago, that is Eric, son of Dago,
Hmm.
cuius nunc reliquiae adorantor tur in illa civitate, of whom the relics, I guess the bones, are now honored in that state, quae vocator slane, what is called slane.
Hmm.
Surrexit, he rose, and benedixit eum Patricius, and Patrick blessed him, et credidit Deo Eterno, and he believed in the eternal God.
Good. Yes. So I don't know. I can't find anything about these relics. I think commentaries should at least say, if we don't know anything about them, we don't know anything about them, because you never know, right? Especially when you're dealing with this other tradition. You don't know whether this is someone everybody's heard of or whether this is the only mention of for Dago. No, for Eric. But anyway, does anyone know you, Larry, do you know anything about this? This isn't a famous guy, is he?
I think you're
No, I don't know him.
Right. I mean, no, neither does the internet, so it's as far as I can tell, it's not like you go, if you look up Slane, I don't think that you can say this is where the relics of Eric are. Maybe I didn't look it up right.
there were just tons of medieval Irish saints, literally.
Yeah. Right, but
yeah.
you'd like to know what's known about.
Right.
This is this interesting thing where you have this very direct, reasonably direct connection. We know that there was a cult 200 or some years late after the supposed death of the guy. So it's a very early information about the cult, and you just kind of like to know more about it. But there's so much to learn. Where everyone's okay, no one needs to say anything. Victoria, you ready? 17.2.
17.2 Incipientibusque illis semocinare ad invicem. And with them, or at the time when they were beginning to discourse one with another, or back and forth. Is that really how that works?
Uh-huh.
Alter magus nomine locru procax erat in conspectu sancti. One magus, one wizard by name Locru, was impudent in the sight of the saint.
Mm-hmm.
Audens detracere fide catholicae tumulentus verbis, daring to be disparaging of the Catholic faith, which is how I'm getting around why I don't understand why those are genitives.
I think it just takes a genitive to pull down off of, to take
Okay.
from the Catholic faith.
I don't think they're genitive. I think they're dative.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
To the
I still don't understand.
Well,
I
it's dative with a compound verb.
to the day.
Dekahare takes the dative.
Yeah.
Well, I looked it up and I couldn't find that it said anything about taking, and maybe that's because it expected one would know that, but.
I mean, it's usual for compound verbs to take the dative.
Okay. So detracting from the Catholic faith with drunken words.
Uh-huh.
Tunc autem intuens turvo oculo talia promentem sanctus patricius. Then, however, beholding or observing things such as this said, talia promentem, with a pitiless eye,
Mhm.
St. Patrick.
So hold, Victoria, just a minute. So there's a total typo. That's my fault right there. it's actually, it makes sense enough with tunk, but it's actually hunk. So it's looking at this man who is promentem talia, who's pushing forth.
Pushing. Okay.
So hunk works way better than tunk.
Okay. So hunk autem, looking then at him with a pitiless, the man saying such things with a pitiless eye. Saint Patrick, ut quondam Petrus de Simone, as formerly Peter about Simon.
Simon Peter, perhaps?
Cum
No, this is Simon Magus,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's much, and I don't know much about him, but he's a much bigger deal in the Middle Ages than he is in the Bible, or in late antiquity,
Right.
in the Bible. There's all sorts of stories about the combat between Peter and Simon.
He's given his name to Simon, correct?
Yes.
We have simony from him
Right, that's right. That's where we get Simon.
because he wanted to buy the spirit.
Right.
From the book of Acts.
Oh, okay. So as formerly Peter about Simon, cum quaedam potentia et magno clamore confidenter ad Dominum dixit. With great power and with great noise or volume, confidently to God he said, Domine, qui omnia potes, et in tua potestate consistent. Lord, you who are powerful over all, and in your power all things abide or consist. Quique me missisti huc, and you who have sent me here. Hic impius qui blasphemat nomen tuum, this impious man who blasphemes your name. Elevator nunc foras et cito moriatur. Lift him now outside, and quickly let him be killed, or quickly kill him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think elevator must be a hortatory subjunctive, right? Let him be.
Mm-hmm.
Let
him be lifted.
and let him die quickly. Yeah, good.
Et his dictis elevatus est in aethera magus et iterum dimissis de super, verso ad lapidem cerebro. And these things, once these things were said, he was raised, the magus, the magician, was raised into the air and flung about again from above. Verso ad lapidem cerebro, and his head came down against the stone. I want to get backward in there somehow.
Yes, right. His head came, right.
His head back against the stone. He was flung about.
I guess it's really with his head turned backward, right? Turned on its head.
Okay. Comminutus et mortuus coram eis, shattered and dead in the face of them, before their face, timuerant gentiles, and the Gentiles or pagans feared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Yeah, I hadn't paid much attention to verso cerebro, whether it really means he was upside down, bang, or just where he hit himself on, he just got hit on the back of his head. Anyone have an opinion? I've muted a lot of people, so if you have opinions, you may not be able to express them. I was trying to get rid of there was a lot of noise, and I tried to get rid of it, but I'm not sure that I did.
I didn't have a chance to check, but I suspect he's probably referring to the Acts of Peter. So whatever the Acts of Peter is saying there is probably what he's trying to achieve.
Oh, whether it's an illusion, you mean?
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that.
I mean, that would be my guess, but again, I didn't have a chance to check.
Right. Good idea.
I did look De Trahere up, and it does take a dative in the meaning to disparage.
Okay. I don't know how to miss that. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Let me see. Greg.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you ready for 18.1?
Okay. And I suggest that the classicists may want to take your Valium now.
We're used to it. We roll with these punches.
We like Valium anyway, so.
Iratusque consuis rex patricio super hoc, voluit eam occidere et dixit, injecite manos in istum perdentum nos. Enraged with his people on account of this Patrick, the king wanted to kill him and said, now the injecite manos, I think let's get our hands on, although I know it's imperative, not first person plural. Istum perdentum, I kept thinking of that loser as it might be enunciated by the presumptive Republican nominee. Although I wouldn't make any other comparison between him and a petty tyrant from the Dark Ages.
But perdentum is actually active, right?
This one losing.
Put your hands throw your hands on this guy who's destroying us.
Losing. This loser. This guy losing.
No, it's really a destroyer. Perdo.
Fire. Okay.
So it's active rather than he's not perishing, he's destroying.
Okay.
Another thing before we go on, you could, if you pushed it, take the very first clause, take hoc with patricio, but I think it's much more likely to be the king, and it is difficult now that I look at it more closely, the king with his people being angry at Patricia's dative
On account of this?
On account of this. Right?
Yep.
I just, Latin, that would be very, what's the word? What's the expression where you take the thing completely out of order? Hyperbaton?
Yeah.
It would be very hyperbatonic. And I don't think there's any need for it. Especially since super hoc seems to be, it makes so much sense as an expression on account of this. And that's partly a factor also, of course, you don't have the long mark, so you don't know whether it's a short O or a long O. You could insist that it's a long O and that it goes with Patricio, but I just think that's probably not likely.
Yeah, I thought you took kind of cum suis rex as a phrase, and it was the king along with his people angered at Patrick on account of this.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Good.
Well, rolling along then. Tunc videns gentilis impios in rurituros in eum, sanctus patricios surrexit, claraque voce dixit, exurgat Deus, et dissipentur inimici eos, et fugiant qui oderunt eum a facie eos. Then, seeing the impious pagans about to rush on him, St. Patrick rose and in a clear voice said, "May God arise and scatter his enemies, and let those who hate him flee from his face." And that's pretty much a direct lift from Psalm 67.
Oh yeah?
The Vulgate, yeah.
Thanks. It does sound very biblical, doesn't it? The dissipentur inimici eos is, of course, really...
Let his enemies be scattered.
Right, let the enemies be scattered. But you did some very good Yosef hortatory subjunctives, Yosef subjunctives, right? Let them be scattered, let God arise, let those flee who hate him. Yes.
Well, I have to give full credit
Whose
to
motorcycle?
Bible translators as far back as Douay Rheims and King James,
Yeah.
because that's pretty much how the psalm is translated.
Mm-hmm.
Et statim in ruerunt tenebrae et commotio quaedam horribilis, et expugnaverant impii semitipsos, alter adversus alterum insurgens, et terre motus magnus factus est, et collucavit axes curum eorum, et agebut eos cum vi, et precipitaverunt se curus et equi per planetium campi, donec ad extremum pauci ex eis semivivi evaserunt ad montem munduirn.
Mhm.
And immediately shadows and commotion, somewhat horrible,
Good.
Rushed on them, or rushed,
Rushed.
and the impious attacked each other,
Mhm.
one rising up against the other, and there was a great earthquake, and it locked their chariots or their carts, and flung them vigorously, and hurled them, horses and chariots, through the level ground, until at the end, a few of them, half alive, escaped to Mount Munduirn. What I found interesting about this is there seem to be two biblical references packed into the same sentence.
Oh yeah.
One is the Pharaoh horses and chariots into the sea. The other one is Gideon in the book of Judges, chapter 7, in which Gideon, the judge of Israel, is told by God to attack the Midianites and Amalekites, who have 20 or 30,000 soldiers, and God tells him to winnow down his force to 300. And he has them stand on the hills with a torch and a pitcher and a trumpet. And all at once, on a signal, they blow the trumpet, take the torches out, and the Midianites and Amalekites fight each other and kill each other.
Cool.
And and God's whole reason for this, according to the scripture, is I want people to know I'm doing this, not you. If you have 10,000 or 1,000 men, you'll take the credit for yourself.
Mhm.
This way, people will know it's the work of God. So this impious falling on each other and attacking each other, I think, is probably a reference to that.
Great. I'll look that up. It's clear to me that I need, among other things, to read the Bible again, because basically I missed a lot of it the first time. One very much more pedestrian point, but now I got all distracted and I got so excited by your reference. Et praecipitaverunt se curus et equi. The subject is
the carts and horses.
Carts and horses threw themselves down through the plain of the field. Yeah, good. And apparently, so the first editor I looked at said that this place, Montem Munduirn, was unknown. Another translator says that it's called Mogdern Breg near Ardagh in County Meath, which is 40 kilometers from Tara, in case anybody cares. I mean, Ardagh, if County Meath is, the internet is completely unaware of Mogdern Breg. So I don't know if it's real or not, but it's in a book. It's printed by a guy. So, but I don't know. Anyway, good, keep going.
Okay. Et prostrati sunt ab hoc plaga coram rege ex suis sermonibus ad maledictum patrici septem septius viri. Donec ipsi remonstrat cum septem tantum hominibus. Ipse et duos reges et alii ex sociis quatuor. Okay, and prostrated by this blow before the king, ex eis pauci ex sui sermonibus. Could the ex be translated on account of his orders to the cursing of Patrick? Septem septius viri. Now, when I started looking for septem septies, I found a lot of septius septem referring to the 70 times 7. But here we have 7 times, what, 7 sevens of men?
Mm-hmm.
Donec ipsi remonstrat cum septem tantum hominibus. Until there had remained 7 such men.
Mm-hmm.
So the septem septies was winnowed down to 7.
Right.
ipse et duos reges. I think he himself and 2 kings and 4 others from his comrades, socios,
Right.
at Timurine Valde, and they were damn scared.
Yeah, they were very great. I found yet another mistake on my transcription part. It's the Latin, the Hood version has ipse, between ipse et duos reges as ipse et uxor eos, he himself and his wife and two kings and 4 other friends, which doesn't make a huge difference except that it makes the appearance of his wife more.
His wife shows up a couple of paragraphs later.
Wife shows up in a minute. And I think that was just my transcribing carelessly. Either that or it was a different there are different manuscripts, different editions have different readings of the manuscript. One very small Latin point is the word, when you have cum septem tantum hominibus. The word tantum is so sneaky, right? It can be the accusative of tantus, but it can also mean only or just. Right, with only 7 men is what I think it means here, and it's just tantum it's very common and very, I don't know, it's a slippery little word.
Annoying, yeah.
I think of it as such.
Right, and it can it mean such? Well, tantus means such.
Well, it means
Right.
it means such a big. It doesn't
Right.
tell us as such.
As an adjective. But
Right.
here it's an adverb.
Right, but tantus could mean such a big guy, right? He was such a great guy, such a big guy. And then it could be accusative, so it could be tantum, or it could be neuter, which would be tantum. But this is different, and that's the point. It's an adverb? Is it an adverb, Jen?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Formed from the accusative. It's
I used to
verbal
know these
accusative.
things. I used to know what an adverb. I used to know an adverb when I saw one, but I think I did. Anyway. But that's good and exciting. And now we have Mona wrapping it up with this great, who knew they were going to turn into deer, right? I was not ready for that.
The magic trick of the day was
So 18.2.
18.2. Veniensque regina ad patricium dixit A. And the queen, coming to Patrick, said to him, Homo juste et potens, ne perdas regem. Just and powerful man, may you not destroy the king. Veniens, enim rex genu afflectet et adorabit nominum tuum. For the king coming, genu afflectet, will bend his knees or kneel down,
Mm-hmm.
and will adore your Lord.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it rex timore coactus, and the king came driven by fear, motivated by fear. Et flexit genua coram sancto, and bent his knees, knelt down before the saint. Et finxit adorare quem nolebat, and he pretended or claimed to adore whom he was unwilling to, that man he was unwilling to. Et postquam separaverunt ab invicum aulum gradiens, vocavit rex sanctum patricium simulato verbo. And after they separated mutually, or separated from each other, walking paululum, going forth a little, the king called St. Patrick simulato verbo, with sort of counterfeit talk, with feigned words. Volens interficere eam quomodo, wishing to kill him in some fashion. Sciens autem patricius cogitationes regis pessimi. Patrick, however, knowing the thoughts of the wicked, or the very bad king, Benedictis in nomine Jesu Christi, sacis suis, octoviris cum puero, venet ad regem. The ablative absolute here, his companions, 8 men along with the boy,
Mm-hmm.
having been blessed in the name of Jesus Christ, he came to the king.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick did. Enumerat eos rex venientes. The king, sort of present tense, strange here. The king counts up those coming.
Mm-hmm.
Statimque nusquam comparaverunt ab oculis regis. And immediately they were, it's kind of a strange expression, they were nowhere to be seen of oculis regis by the eyes of the king.
Uh-huh.
Sed viderunt gentiles.
Empty, right? Removed from the eyes of the king,
Okay.
right? They were nowhere to be seen, having been removed from the eyes of the king.
Oh, okay. I just skipped a word. Having been removed from the eyes of the king. And sed viderunt gentiles octotantum ceros cum hynulo eontes quasi ad disertum. But the pagans saw
Mm-hmm.
only 8 stags.
Good.
Cum hynulo, with a fawn,
Mm-hmm.
going or traveling as if into the wilderness.
Uh-huh.
And then et rex laguire mestus timidus et ignominiosus cum paucis evadentibus ad tenoriam versus es delulculo. And King Leary, Mestus, sad, fearful, and very disgraced, with paucis evadentibus, with a few escaping men, turned towards Tara at dawn.
Good. Excellent. So I guess they didn't really turn into deer. They were just seen as deer by the bad guy,
Pretty.
right? So interesting. So reading these non-scholarly books about Patrick, apparently, maybe Larry knows all about this. Apparently, this is connected with the hymn that it may or may not be by St. Patrick, but is thought to be by St. Patrick's breastplate, which is all about protection. And it's sometimes called the Deer's Cry because they associate the generation of that hymn with this incident where Patrick is protected, or Patrick's guys are protected by their faith. Which I thought was kind of interesting, but I don't know what to say about it. I don't know whether this deer miracle is common, right? So one rationalization of it, again, in this popular biography of Patrick, is that a herd of deer intervened. They were running away from Leary, and a herd of deer intervened and blocked them, so they got away, and this leads then to the miracle story. But I don't know if any of that is what serious scholars think about this. This is
Yeah, hagiography is full of stories of the saints escaping in some way, be turned into a bird or into an animal or slipping by somehow, and the guy who wants to kill them can't see them. I don't know of any other specifically deer ones, but I can check.
Yeah, I don't.
There's a Greek myth of a hunter who sees the goddess. It's not Diana. It's her
Artemis.
Artemis, yeah, her Greek version. And she's bathing, and she realizes she sees him there, kind of basically staring, and she turns him into a deer, and his own hounds eat him.
Yeah, this is Actaeon.
Right. That's Actaeon, right?
Yeah.
He went to the dogs.
Yeah, but that's different.
Yeah, more similarly, of course, is the story of Iphigenia.
Right.
Where a deer is substituted to save Iphigenia not to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I don't think there is, so I don't know if people are aware of this, the Bollandists, I know Larry is clearly alluding to this, the Bollandists sort of study all this hagiographic stuff and analyzed saints' lives within an inch of their lives with showing all the parallels. And there doesn't seem to be that kind of study for this text that I have found. And I find that kind of unnerving, because I want somebody to come along and put this story in context.
I think it's
The phrase that keeps occurring to me is lies like a second nocturne. Lies like a second nocturne.
Lies.
An old priest was telling me once about this phrase, and it was, in the divine office that priests say daily. There different times of days require different readings. And the second nocturne, the second night prayer, often had some story from the lives of the saints, like one where the tide stopped and the seals all came around this saint who was praying on the beach. And it got to the point where lies like a second nocturne became a sort of a touch phrase for utter hooey.
Right.
And there have been a couple of points in this where that phrase has resonated for me.
Yeah, I bet. But I bet. Have you ever heard anyone else use it?
Yes.
Wow. I intend to inject this into the. I'll mention this at a faculty meeting. See if anyone knows what I'm talking about.
I thought it was interesting that we had, and it's a very common motif in these early conversion stories of entire groups of people, where the queen or the chieftain's wife or whatever is the one who converts first, or has friendly connection with the saints first, or the missionaries, and that the women eventually convert the king, who then tells everybody they have to convert.
Right.
And that's really common in both in the British Isles and in Scandinavia.
Is that what happened with Clovis and Clotilda?
Yes, I believe so.
I can't remember. It certainly happened the third and fourth century Christian conversion stories. It's a cliche that the women convert first. That the women are drawn to Christianity when their menfolk aren't. And of course, then you don't know whether it's here because it's a motif or it's here because it's true. So, but there you have it. Well,
later in Middle Ages, women are considered evil. So
not all of them.
Well, women are considered morally weak, certainly by the 12th or 13th century, and you don't have this kind of the woman, this moral stalwart.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's was it Medieval Households? David Herlihy talks about how as the frontiers close in the medieval world, towards around the 11th and 12th centuries, women who had a lot of influence, being part of the family, being members of the family, start to lose a lot of power, because individual power, the rise of individual power, is really the rise of male individual power, and women lose power towards the end of the Middle Ages compared to earlier on.
Huh. Ivan Illich wrote a great book on that called Gender. Illich, I don't know if his name is familiar to anyone, but he was a thinker quite popular in the 60s and 70s. His book, Gender, traces the disempowerment of women, which seems to have been brought about forcefully by industrial capitalism at its roots. And he has some very interesting observations on the trajectory of this disempowerment.
There's a real nadir during the Reformation, and then it starts to go back up again. For women basically having, and by women's power, I mean not just power over other people, but control over their own lives. And it's, prior to that and after that, you have women have more control over their own lives and power, and you have things as early as the late 18th century, the vindication of the rights of women. You have modern feminism starting up, and in the Middle Ages, women have a lot more expectations of being able to have control of their own lives. But during the Reformation period, late Renaissance, in the early modern period, women are really, witch crazes and stuff. They just have a really low level of control over their lives.
Okay.
Thank you. That was interesting.
All right, you guys. Sorry.
There's I think a line of the breastplate of the Lorica, the one I'm thinking of, has something like protect us from the spells, and maybe the smells. Smith, and I think evil women, or women, women are involved. Yeah, you have to look it up. And the smell, especially the smells.
I did put a link to a translation on the community page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can certainly find translations if you Google it. We used to sing it in church. That stuff. We had nothing cool about spells. It was just the strong name of the Trinity. Anyway, we finished actually in an hour, which seems like a good time as the summer wears on. I'll try and stick to an hour. I think next week can happen at the same time if anyone's interested. I'm going to be in Maine, so there may be connectivity problems, but I'm going to put myself in the hands of IT and hope for the best. But other than that, it's great to see you guys.
It's great fun.
Yeah, thank you.
For everything.
Thanks again.
And if you have thoughts, just post them or bring them in next time. Take care.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Have a good week.
Good week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.